Imperialism is a policy of the 19th century that consisted in extending a nation's authority by territorial acquisition or by the establishment of economic and political hegemony on other nations. As well, it is a practice of such government. Now that we know what imperialism is, we have to know which the main factors behind it are. First of all, the Industrial Revolution permitted more technological advances in first world countries, so then the development in them was better and quicker. As the revolution took place, European and new emerging powers needed more resources and raw materials, so they were looking for other places to take them from. The old colonies in America were independent now, and there were no place to exploit. These new countries will be in Africa and Southeast Asia, and since the technological advances were not the same, Europeans will colonize them with no big problem. The second factor is the national sentiments that began growing. Countries such as the United States, with the Destiny Manifesto, France, and Germany are the main examples. The last factor, and maybe the most important one, is the social Darwinism. This idea established that not everybody was able to be at the power. So then, it was the main excuse to invade other countries and exploit them. Arguing the local people did not have the capacity to self-rule, European and American peoples thought that they were the right people to occupy the territory. They thought that they had the obligation to spread capitalism and their ideas in the civilization, even though Africa and Asia had their own system. The colonization of Southeast Asia was before the African conquer. It started because the Asian origin product demand increased. Coffee, palm oil, spices, rubber, sugar, tea, and we can see at that moment the presence of the United Kingdom in Burma and the Malayan Peninsula, which now is current Singapore, and also India, which was known as the jewel of the crown. The French presence in the French Indochina, which now is Vietnam, Laos, and Cambodia. The Netherlands presence in the Dutch East India, that was before the 19th century, but it was still there during the 19th century, of course, and nowadays is Indonesia. The presence of the United States in the Philippines, and some presence of German, Spain, and Portuguese in small islands. Thailand was the only independent country, and it worked as a buffer state. The main problems in Asia were the Christians against the Buddhists, the lack of food of the local people, and the bad treatment of the peasants. Now it's time to talk about Africa. The colonization of Africa started when explorers were looking for new routes for commerce with Africa. The most important explorers were David Livingstone, who was a medical missionary arose in Europe with a special interest in Central Africa. Livingstone traveled widely in the region and sent accounts to his explorations to London. Then, a journalist named Henry Stanley found him after years of having known anything about him. That's where the colonization actually starts. The most important colony in the Central Africa is the Congo. After Stanley found Livingstone, he became an explorer and sold his discoveries to King Leopold II, who acquired Congo as a private property. The West African part of the continent was also occupied. It was mainly occupied by French people which nowadays is Togo, Côte d'Ivoire, Benin, and Gabon. At the same time, the United Kingdom has Nigeria, which is one of the most important territories, and the UK also had in the north part of Africa, Egypt, to control the Suez Canal. Finally, we have South Africa, which was mainly occupied by the British people and by Dutch people, causing some revolts called the Boer War because some differences, And since then, it was another part of the history which was called the Berlin Conference, in which the Prime Minister of Germany decided to give some portions of the continent to the European powers. As a conclusion, I can say that imperialism is one of the most extreme and powerful movements of all times. However, it was really cruel with people in Africa and Asia. I cannot support these ideas totally or completely, but I think that the main purpose of the big country was ideal for the situation that their population was living, but at the same time was unfair with people.
When I was young,